Hi again. Welcome to another lecture on C programming. You have understand a few concepts and now it's time to write some basic programs. So it's very important to write some program to improve your programming skills. So now we're going to talk about some basics few programs like swiping of two numbers, prime numbers, Fibonacci series, reverse numbers. So with the help of these kind of programs, you are able to think how to solve a problem, programming problem, and how can you apply what you have learned in all the previous lectures. So you have already covered the basic parts of your C programming lectures. And after that, we're gonna move forward to functions chapter, and then after in like arrays, structure, and file. Okay, so let's start. And here we're gonna just talk about only the logic of the program. Okay, so I'm just going to tell you how can you think logic, and you have to just write your program by your own. And if you really want to get the solution of this kind of problem, so I will give the link inside the description box of cybersonic NV website, so where you're gonna find these kind of programs, guys. It will help you. Okay, so let's start. So our first problem is swapping of two numbers. So what is swapping of two numbers? Okay, so let's see. So for that, I'm going to first open a Visual Studio Code. Okay, so here I have already created a file name swapping two numbers.c. So if you don't know how to create a file name inside Visual Studio Code, you're just gonna open your folder, and here you're gonna just create a new file, and the file extension name is .c. So here only I'm gonna discuss about the logic of your program. So what is a meaning of swiping of two number? So basically, suppose you have two containers. Okay, so here I'm represent a as a container as a variable, and you have a value that 30 inside a, and you have another variable. Understand in that way, like another container. I've already discussed about these things. What is variable? So here you just put here 40. So what is the meaning of this problem is that you need to swap this number. Okay, so you need to swap this number, and here a is equal to 40 after swapping, and b is equal to 30. Okay, so that is basically this problem, guys. Okay, so how can you swap these two numbers? So think about the logic. So here the first thing is that we need to swap this number with using a third variable. Okay, so you have two containers and you want to just swap the, suppose that in the first container you have sand, and in another container you have some water. So you have to use a third container to swap that number. So it is basically, we're going to tell that it is temp, that is a temporary variable. Okay, so that is a temporary container, that is a third container. So what are you going to do that? So here it is quite easy. So I'm just going to write in that way. So what you can do this problem, just think about that, pause the video and think the logic by your own. Okay, hope you think. Now, so here I'm just going to write, you have to just take that container which is empty, and you just put the value, or you can say that the thing inside that container, that is basically the water, and just put that value inside temporary variable. Okay, now you can see that the value which was in a, it basically stores in temporary variable temp. And now you can use that a variable to store the value of b, because and you have already stored that data inside a variable in a temporary variable. So you're gonna just write here, okay, sorry, a is equal to b. That means what? You just put that value inside that a container. Okay, so you have already put the water inside the empty container, and now your water container is empty, and now you put, that is the sand container, that is put the sand inside the water container which is already empty, and now your b like the sand container is empty right now. So what you're going to do, you're just going to put that value which is already in that third container, or you can say that in the temporary variable. So you have already stored that value, so here you're going to just put that value inside b. So in this way you can swap these two number. So what you have to do, just take a third variable like temporary variable, and in that way you're gonna just declare those variables, put those value, and just write in that way, and just gonna print these two different value. But this is not kind of efficient solution of your program. So we're gonna just improve this program by this way. So how can you improve this program? So it quite okay. So here we're gonna just improve in this way, like you don't need to use a third variable. Okay, so that is basically our program. So you gonna ask me why? Because in programming, everything is all about efficiency. So how much you basically write. So suppose you have to do something. So how efficiently you can do that work. That is all about programming, guys. So that means you use as much as less as okay, so less space in your program, you use less storage, less memory in your program. So that is quite very important. Also I will discuss about the complexity. Okay, that is a time complexity, space complexity, to understand these things effectively. So here you just know that you have to only use two variables. Why? Because you don't want to waste the memory, because every time when you declare a new variable, it takes some storage inside the memory. And you know about that, if that is an integer, you have a 64-bit bit architecture operating system, so it can store 2 byte or 4 byte. Okay, so it totally depend on your architecture of computer. So suppose it takes 4 byte, so that means it's a waste of memory. So what you have to do, you have to just use only that two variable. So we have a first variable a, and that value is 30 inside that variable, and in b we have 40. So just pause the video and think about the logic. How can you solve this problem? So it's quite difficult to think, but just take your copy and pen and think, how can you just use only these two variable, and you're gonna swap these two number. Okay, so here what we're gonna do, we just use some operators. Okay, so you can see that what is the basic fundamental of a concept of a variable. So a variable stores the data inside a, okay, it, and if you will not put another data inside it, it will not gonna replace it. Okay, so otherwise it is not empty. So here we gonna just write a is equal to a plus of b. Why? So you know about plus, plus is an operator. So that means you use same variable, that a variable, to store both data, that is 30 or 40. Okay, so you're gonna just add these two numbers as 30 plus 40. That means it gives you 70, guys. Okay, so now suppose, so the new value of a is 70. So you can write here in this way, okay, comma, and a is equal to 70. So this is not actual program, this is a logic. So think about the logic. The new value of a is 70. You just replace the value of a that was 30 previously, and the new value of a is 70. But what do you want? You want the new value of a become 40. So how can you just that value inside a? So here you have only two numbers, 70 and 40, and you gonna get the value 30. But where you gonna store that value? So you can see that you want to just, so what was our problem? Our problem was, okay, so you're gonna see that in that way you want that the value of b become 30, and the value of a become 40. This is basically our desirable output. We wanna get this output, guys. So here you can see that after adding these two numbers, you have a one value that is 70 and you have another value that is 40. So how can you get that number? So if you subtract this value 40 from 70, you can get 30. And where you're gonna store it? So you're gonna store it in B, because what we actually want. So this is basically our desirable output. So here I'm just gonna write B is equal to A, that is 70, minus of B. Why B? Because the previous value, like here, the value of B is right now 40. So when you just write here, just think about this. So what you basically do here, you just write 70 and sorry, it's 70, and you just subtract the number B. B is already 40. So here the new value of B is equal to 30. And this is what actually we want this value as an output. That is very important. So here our output B is equal to 30. So this is basically our output. Okay, so I'm just going to write it inside the bracket. Okay, so here you can understand that this is basically our output. Now what we want right now, so we have just fulfill the this condition. Okay, so that means we could just get this output B is equal to 30, and now we again want that the value of A become 40. So that basically we want. So here you can see that you have two number. First is A, which has value that is 70, and another number that is the variable that is B, and the value of B is here 30. So it's quite simple. You can see that if you subtract the value B that is 30 from A, so it will give you 40. And where you want to store that value? You want to store that value inside A. So what is the meaning of that? So you just store that value A is equal to A of minus B. So it's quite simple. So here the value of A is 70, and you just subtract that value. And what is that value? That is a value of B, and it was 30. So minus of 30, and here you're gonna see that the value of A becomes 40. So that is basically our desirable output. So here in this program you can see that. So what you can see? So here you can see that we have to use a third variable temp. So it requires some memory inside, some storage inside the memory. But here we only use two variable, that is A and B, and after that we're gonna just get our number. So this is our program. A is equal to A plus B, B is equal to A minus B, and A is equal to A minus B. And you can again ask me, can I do this problem, same problem, by any other method? Yes, you can do that. So here you can see, just replace that number, that sorry operator, plus operator, with multiplication, and that okay, sorry, so that subtraction operator, so by uh, division. Okay, so that is very easy. So here because why you used to replace that number by multiplication? So in C programming we use star as a multiplication operator, and here we just use a single slice. So this is for a division operator. So you're gonna write here in this way, like A is equal to A star B, and you're gonna just divide the number. A is equal to A by B, and A is equal to A divided by B. So here it will give you 30 multiplied by 40, that means 1200. And here our number is basically 1200. So if you divide that number by 40, it will give you 30 obviously, and here again you just divide that number 1200 by 30, it will give you 40. That is quite simple. So you just gonna do this problem by this kind of operators also, the multiplication operator and also for division operator. You're going to get same answer. Why? Because you know that if you multiply the things 2 with 4, that means what? You just add the number 2 4 times. So that is it. And also, you can solve this problem by another method, that is a bitwise XOR operator. Okay, so at this time you are not familiar with operator, so I'm going to discuss this thing again when you're going to learn about operators. Otherwise, it takes time to understand all the operators. Okay, so don't worry about that. This is all about the swapping of two numbers. So just think about how can you just write your program. Okay, and if you still really want that you are not able to write your program by understanding this concept, you can just visit the Cybersyn Academy website, and where I'm gonna just inside the description box, I'm just gonna put the link. Okay, and where you're gonna see all kind of methods to swap two numbers. And also I have mentioned about a XOR operator. It is and that is was the basically an efficient approach, but here I'm not going to mention because you are not familiar with XOR operators and other operators also. And but when you will learn the concept about operators, then there you're gonna solve this problem using XOR operator. So now it's time to solve another problem. So this is all about your first problem. So this is not your program, C program. Okay, so this is only the logic. Think logic. And if you don't have any IDE or any laptop or desktop, don't worry about that. You can write your program in your mobile phone. You can write your program in your copy. Just think about the logic, solve your logic with your copy and pen, because writing program is that much not important, is that thinking about the logic. So if you have an ability to think logic of any program, then you can learn programming easily. So don't worry about that. So okay, so first think about the problem, what is the problem statement, and just solve this problem with your copy and pen. And after that you're gonna just write your program in your computer or your mobile phone. And there are a lot of online ID, you're gonna search on Google, you're gonna get that. Okay, so that is very important. So now we're gonna just move forward to our next problem, that is basically okay, so that is basically about prime numbers. So here our problem statement is, okay, so I'm just gonna first create a file name as prime number dot c. Why dot c? Because it's a C program. So here actually I'm discussing only the logic. So the after that you can see that a program also. If you will tell me that write a program, then I will definitely write the program. So here program.c. So first of all you have to understand what is the problem statement. So here our problem statement is that check a number is prime or not. Check a number is prime or not. So this is our problem statement. So first thing is that in programming you have to first understand the concept. Okay, so sorry, the problem statement. So here problem statement is that check a number is prime or not. So what you want to do that? First understand what is a prime number. So a prime number is not nothing but it is a natural number which is greater than 1. And the fundamental basic concepts about prime number is that it is only divisible by 1 and itself. So you're gonna see that the number should be greater than 1. So here 2, I'm gonna ask you, is that 2 a prime number? So yeah, 2 is a prime number. 3 is also a prime number. But you're gonna ask you 4 is a prime number, you're gonna say me no. Why? Because 4 is also divisible by 2. So same with 5 is also a prime number, 7 is a prime number, 9, no, 9 is divisible by 3, so it is not a prime number. So we have 11, we have 13 and 17, okay, so 19, so on. So these are basically an example of a prime number. So our main goal is to check whether a number is prime or not. So suppose we have a number 11. So what we are going to do, we're going to just check that 11 is a prime number or not. That is quite very important. Okay, so how can you just check that number? So first of all, understand the logic. The logic is that, okay, so you have understand what is a prime number. The basic concept is that a prime number is a number that is greater than 1 and it is only divisible by 1 and itself. So that means, suppose the number is 7. So how can you say that 7 is a prime number? So if you divide 7 by another number which is lesser than 7, and you're going to see that if 7 is not divisible by all that number other than 1, that means 7 is a prime number. So here I'm just going to tell another example. Suppose we have number 9. So you're going to just know how can you just say that this is not a prime number. So simple logic is that think in a simple way, and just we're going to improve our thinking. So here, if you divide this number by 9, it will definitely divide it. Okay, so we're going to just divide this number by lesser than 9, that is 8. Okay, so I'm going to just ask you, is that number divide by the number lesser than it itself? So you're going to ask me, no, it will not definitely divide it. So why, where, from where you have to start? So just think about that. If you have a number 25, so you're going to see that if you're going to divide this number, which is the square root of 25, and that is the only way you're going to just check. Okay, so what are the multiples of 25? So you're going to just write here. Okay, I'm just gonna here write 1, and just see, don't worry about what's gonna happen. Okay, just see and think. So here, what are the multiples of 25? So you're gonna obviously tell me that, well, yes, 1 is a multiple of 25, so you're gonna just write here 1 25. Okay, sorry, the divisor, not a multiple. So 1 is divisor of 25. Okay, so the number 25 is divisible by 1, and is that divisible by 3? No. 4? No. So it is basically divisible by 5. So you're gonna write here 5 multiplied by 5, and again write divisible by 25. Why it is not divisible by other number? So here you can just see that if you check this number from, if you check that if this number is divisible by 1 and 5, you don't need to check that number is also divisible by 25. So I think not, this is not a right example. I'm just take another example where you can understand in a better way. So just write a multiple of 24. So suppose you're gonna just write here what are the, sorry, multiples, it's divisors. So 1 into 24, so 1 is a divisor of 24. You're gonna just write here 2 into, yeah, it's divisible by 2, so it's 2 into 12, 3 into 8, 4 into 6. Okay, and again you're gonna write here, is that divisible by 5? No. Is that divisible by the number 7? No. Yeah, is that divisible by 8? Yeah, it is. So here you can see that, so this number again you can write here, so this number is divisible by 8. Okay, and also you can see that this number is also divisible by 6. Sorry. Okay, and here this number is also divisible by 12, and also divisible by 24. So but here at this state, okay, so that is basically the separation line. So here you're gonna see that numbers are repeating. Okay, so here if that number is divisible by 4, that means it is also divisible by 6. Here I'm not telling about the actual theory that is divisible by 4 and 6, but here you just write the divisors. So if 24 is divisible by 4, then you're gonna multiply 4 with 6, that means it is also divisible by 6. So you're gonna just know there that 6 is also the divisor of 24. So you don't need to again check by 6 also, so you just delete this. Same way for, if you check that number is divisible by 3, then you will not check with 8 also. Again for 2, So why you will not check with 12 in same way for 24? So why you stop here? So you gonna see in this example the square root of 25 is 5. Okay, so if we check the number, actual number is divisible by the square root of that number. So from where? From the number greater than 1 up to a square root of that number. If we check and divide the actual number by all these numbers, so we're gonna say that that number is prime or not. So here, what is a square root of 26? It may be like you can say that 4 point something. Okay, so nearly 5. So that is why the number should be lesser than square root of 24. So here, what we're gonna do? We're gonna just divide the number which is greater than 1, okay, and equal to a square root of that number. So here, because each number is divisible by 3, sorry, each number is divisible by 1 and itself. So here we're gonna check if 25 is divisible by 2 or not. If it is divisible by 2, so there we stop. Suppose in case of 24, we just check the number which is divisible by, okay, so for 24 we're just gonna check that this number is divisible by 2 or not. Suppose is this number is divisible by 2, so here we stop. Okay, so we're gonna start a for loop and there we stop, and we're gonna jump outside from the loop and know that number is not divisible by 24. Okay, so sorry, that number is actually divisible by, excuse me, that number is actually divisible by 2. This means this number is divisible by the number 1 and itself, and also it is divisible by other number. That means this number is not a prime number because this is divisible by 2, which is not a 1 or itself. So this is not a prime number. So here in this case, we're going to check by 2. Okay, so we're going to see that this number is not divisible by 2. Again, we're going to just see another number, that is 3. Then for next number, we're going to same result, it is not divisible by 3. We're going to check for again 4. We're going to check again 5. So here you're going to see that this number 25 is divisible by 5. That means this is also not a prime number. Okay, so is that we need to uh, check on with this another number? No. First thing is that it is already divisible by 5. So we need to go forward. And another thing is that this number is the square root of 25. So why also we don't need to check by another number? Okay, suppose we're going to take any example that suppose we have a number like uh, okay, so that is 13. We're going to just check the number 23. Okay, it is a very good example here. We're going to see that. So here we have to check 23 is a prime number or not. So what we're going to do, we're going to check that is that number is divisible by 2 or not. So you're going to ask me, yeah, it is not divisible by 2. Okay, again we're going to check to the next number, that is 3. It is also not divisible by 3. We're going to check with 4, and right now we are again going to check with 5. But here you can see that this number is also not divisible by 5. Do we need to check by this number by 6? So no. Why? Because we have to stop there up to a square root, that is to what is the square root of 23? So it is a 4 point something. Okay, so that is lesser than 5. Also we don't need to check with this number with 5 also. So Here we're gonna check that number is divisible by 2 3 4 or not. If it is not, we don't need to again check this number it is divisible by other number or also. So here you can say that this is not a prime number, not a, sorry, it is a prime number, it is a prime number. So how can you say that? Because you have started with number 2 and 23 is not divisible by 2, 23 is not divisible by 3, 23 is also not divisible by 4, and you don't need to check it to 5 also. Why? Because the square root of 23 is a 4 point something. It's okay, so there you stop. So what are you gonna do? So here I'm just gonna write a program to make you better understand. Okay, so hope you understand the concept. So this is a simple logic to check a number is prime or not. So first thing is that we have to write our header file h include, okay, studio.h. And now here you can see, and also I have said that if you we need to some mathematical functions, so we need to include header file like math.h. Okay, so here we're gonna use a function square root x. Okay, sorry, a square root. So what is a square root function? So just understand, suppose we have a number. Okay, so suppose we have a number like 25, we want to just get the square root. So how can you just calculate in C programming? So it is 5. Okay, so how can you use? We're gonna use a function. So what is a function? Function is a container where you're gonna put some value, okay, and it will give their desirable output after their computation. Okay, so this is a predefined function, a square root, which will give you the number that is 5 after, okay, execution. That is basically a number inside C programming. That is a function which is in math.h header file, that is in math header file. Okay, and now so you're gonna say that root of 25. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we're gonna just write a main function. Okay, and just write here int a is equal to something like 25. Okay, and just you're gonna write int I0 is equal to, okay, so here you have to check that number is divisible by which numbers. So number that is greater than 1. So here you just gonna write here 2. Okay, so here what you have to write, you have to write 2. Okay, so you have to just divide that number by 2, then 3, then 4. Okay, so why we use this for loop? And here that what is the condition? The condition is that if the value of I is less than is equal to square root of what, a, that number, and I plus plus, that is basically our condition inside this for loop. And also you're going to write here, if you didn't want to use that number, that square root function, so you're going to write here this for loop in this way also. What, for int is equal I is equal to 2, and when you're going to multiply, what is the condition? When you're going to multiply I with I, you're going to write here that is less than, sorry, that is less than is equal to a. So it is also a square root of a. Okay, and I plus plus, you can also write in this way. So here you don't need to write a square root function, and also you don't need to include that math header file. Okay, and now what we're gonna do here, we're gonna check, what we're gonna check, we're gonna check that if that number, if that number that is a mod, this is a mod operator, and it will give you a reminder. So suppose you have to divide a number 4 by 3. So what is the reminder? Reminder is 1. So we're gonna use a mod operator here. So you can write here 4 mod 3. So 4 mod 3 is equal to gives you 1. So if a mod, what a mod I, and what is I basically it was first 2, then it is 3, then it is 4, and same way. So if a mod I equal to 0, that means you have to stop here. Okay, so if a mod I equal to 0, that means that number is not a prime number. So what you gonna do? So you're gonna write here also that this number is like a prime number. So you're gonna just also print here, printf uh, number, sorry, if that number is divided by any number lesser than the square root of that number and greater than 1, you're gonna say that number is not a prime number. Okay, and also you're gonna ask me which number, so you're gonna replace that with %d, that is the modifier, and here you can just write a. Okay, and what after that? After that you have to put a break statement, so it will give you. Okay, so what basically break a statement does, so it will, you just jump out of this for loop. Okay, so you will come here. Also here one thing you're gonna update that, suppose that number is lesser than 1, so that is a prime number, so no. So here also you're gonna check that if that number is less than equal to 1, that means again that number is not a prime number. So you're gonna ask here, you're gonna just print their printf uh, %d is not a prime number. Okay, and in this way, so here, so you're gonna write here a. Okay, so that is not a prime number. So here also you're gonna return here, that is return 0. Okay, so here also you can return, that is that means your loop, your program will end here, and otherwise you're gonna use else statement. Okay, so here you can see that if that number, so in the else form. Okay, so also you're gonna write in that way. So that is, also you're gonna put return 0 there. Okay, so also you're gonna put a return 0, you don't need to write else statement. Okay, so here I'm just comment this statement. So instead of writing return 0, you can also use this else statement. Okay, so here you're gonna see that you check that number is not a prime number and just break outside this loop, and also instead of writing a break statement, you're gonna write a return 0. That means your program ends here. Okay, so you're gonna just replace this break statement with return 0. And now suppose this number is not divisible by each and every number that is lesser than this, that means for 23. Okay, so where, so there what you're gonna do, so how can you know that that number is not replaceable by all these kind of numbers? So for that I'm just using another variable. Okay, you're gonna name this variable as flag. Okay, and flag is equal to 0. So if that number is divisible by any number, so that means you're gonna update that value flag as 1. And if a, that actual number, is not divisible by any number which is lesser than a square root of that number, that means the flag value will never update as 1. So here you can see that for 23, this 23 is not divisible by 2, 3, 4. So for all the values the flag value was remain 0. So here you again check when you get outside from this loop, when this condition will false, so there you gonna again check. What you're gonna check? If the value of flag equal to 0, that means that number you're gonna write here what percent d is a, sorry, is a prime. Okay, and what is that percent d? It's a. Okay, so here inside that else statement you're gonna write here a return 0 also. And if you don't want to write here, you're gonna just write outside the else statement, and that is return 0. So that is our basically the program, guys. So you just take a variable. So 25 is not a prime number, so it will print a prime number. And also just gonna save this C program and run this. Okay, so just see there, 25 is not a prime number. This is our desirable output. Suppose we're gonna just check that 23, is that 23 a prime number? So here again run this C program, so you can say yeah, 23 is a prime number, so your program is right. Also you have used like a return 0 here, and instead of using this else statement. Okay, so that is also work, that basically also work. So if that means here also you're gonna write uh, return 0 instead of break statement. So if this is not a prime number, you're gonna just return 0 here, and otherwise you're gonna just go outside from this program. Just save this program, and here I'm gonna just check a number with 29. 29 is also a prime number. Just run this C program. So here see, you can see that 29 is a prime number. So okay, so now again I'm just gonna summarize the whole concept of a prime number. So you're gonna see that, and also how you think a logic. So first of all, you need to understand the program statement, and after that, understanding the program statement, you have to think what is actual logic. So first of all, think in a proper way, like think in that way. Suppose uh, in this way that problem statement is defined. That is a first way of thinking or logic. And another way is that, and that is known as a brute force algorithm. Okay, so you are thinking in that way. Another thing is that just think about the output. Don't think about that way. Basically the thing is going on. So if you will see only the output, and you want to just get that output, and the way basically you choose, that's up to you in which way you want to get that output. That is very important. Okay, so in this previous problem you can see that okay, so you're gonna see that here we're gonna just think the logic of this problem in that way. But here you're gonna see that we're gonna think about only the output. Okay, so we will not use another third variable. That is a better way of solving that problem statement. Okay, so here I'm just going to summarize this problem. So this is a problem of prime number. So what is a prime number? A prime number which is greater than 1, and also that number is not divisible by any number by itself. Sorry, it was only divisible by itself and 1. So the examples of prime numbers are 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29. Okay, so on so on. So here how can we check that number is a prime number or not? We can just divide that number by all the number lesser than that number. But here we're going to think that we got a condition that if we only divide that number by square root of the number, that we no need to check that number by other numbers also. So why we're going to only divide that number by the lesser number or equal to of that square root of that number. So here 25 is a number, and what is the square root of 25? It is 5. So we will only check up to 5. Okay, and also we're going to see that we have to just divide that number which is greater than 1. So now if that suppose 24, in the case of 24 we're going to start with 2. So this is basically a loop, guys. Okay, so this is a for loop. You start with 2, you're going to go with 3, 4. So And now just come here. So in this our program, so here what you're gonna see that you have started with 2. Okay, so if you have your number 2, you have started with 2, and you have started with 2, you're gonna just increase that number by this operator I plus plus. Okay, so plus plus, you just increase the value 2 by 1. That means 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and each and every time when this when this loop runs, so you're gonna check that if that number is divisible by that number that is inside that loop. It is, if it is divisible by 2, if it is divisible by 3, 4, any number. Okay, and each and every time you just check if it is divisible or not. Suppose this number is divisible by that number, so here you're going to see that 24 is divisible by 2. So if here a was 24, so here you stop. Why? Because 24 is divisible by 2. If in the case of 23, it will check here that 23 mod 2, that basically gives you 1, so it is not like 0, so this condition will false. If this condition will false, again the loop will go here. Okay, and it will increase the value of 2 as 3, and again it will check the condition, that is I less than is equal to square root of a, and the square root of a means that is a 23, which is something 4 point something. So yeah, 3 is less than 4 point something, so it is correct. So now it's go again inside this for loop here, again check the condition, and you're gonna see that uh, here 23 mod 3, that is the remainder also is not 0. Okay, so if you divide that number by 23 by 3, it will give you remainder as 2. So it is because 21. Okay, so it is 2, it is not 0, so again this condition is false. If this condition is false, you're gonna just go outside from this. Okay, so in this area, so you're gonna say that you're gonna just go outside from this block, or in this if block. So where you gonna do, go, you come here in this statement I plus plus, and it will give the value 3 as 4. Okay, and here you again check that if that number is less than square root of a, since a was 23, so I already said that it is 4 point something, so here the condition is true. So again it go here, and it will check the condition, what, that is 23.2. Okay, so here just divide that 23 by 4, and you're gonna check if reminder is, that is 0 or not. So here reminder is 3, so that means it is not 0, it is again check the condition, it is false right now. So here further it is increasing the value of 4 as 5, but you're gonna see that a square root of 23 is lesser than 5. That means this condition is false here. If this condition false here, that means you will also get outside from this block, this 4 block. Okay, so now you will come here in this if block. Since it is here, you can see that there is only one single statement, so you don't need to write a block of if here. So here it again check if value of flag was 0 or not, because if any of one condition is true here inside there, so that means the value of flag will update as 1. But here you're going to see that it will check each and every condition. Okay, each and every condition, that means it will not never update the value of flag as 1. And since uh, if this condition is true, if this condition is true, that means it will never update the value of flag, so it will always return 0. So here we're just gonna write this number is a prime number. Okay, and also since we use a return 0 here, so we don't need to write this flag statement also. Okay, we're gonna just improve, since we have used a break statement, so we have to just write a flag statement. Why I'm just gonna tell you that you don't need to write this flag statement. Why? Okay, so this is a further better program. So here you can see that if this statement is ever true anytime, that means this will execute it, and here the return 0, that return 0 will true, That means what? This program will end. It will never go there in this statement. Okay, so it will also work if that number is not suppose if all the statement is false here. Okay, that means what? That means it is a prime number because no one no statement is executed. So here I'm just gonna take a variable like 17. So is that a prime number? So yeah. So just run this C program. 17 is a prime number. Okay, guys, this is all about today's lecture. We will cover the next two problems, the Fibonacci series and also the reverse of a number in the next lecture. This is a part one of programs. So what the basic meaning of these programs here? So I'm just going to tell you that how can you use your concept to write programs, because learning concept is not that much important is that writing programs and thinking logic. So thinking logic is very important. So once you learn syntax, that is not only enough. Okay, and here also you can write this program by your own. Okay, so thanks for watching. And so if you like the video on C programming, you're gonna just subscribe our Cyber Academy channel and share this video with your friends. And if you really want to contact with us, you're gonna just write email at cyberacademy@gmail.com. Okay, again, thank you and keep learning.